Hi, I'm Stan Goldberg, and yesterday I went to a meeting where the Department of Education's Director of Community Outreach came to town and told us about a program where the lowest performing schools, 5%, were going to get community grants. It's a $4 billion program, and he told us how we in San Francisco can get our share of the money. So first we're going to listen to his opening remarks, and then I'm going to give you a synopsis of what happened. So stay tuned.
I want to see generally across the country, across the nation, we're going to need community involvement, community sort of driving this change. It's sort of a paradigm shift that we're all getting used to. This idea that those that are going to these schools, given as parents and students, obviously have the most to gain and most to lose if something goes right or wrong. They should certainly be at the center of the debate. As Kimmy was saying earlier, you watch the news every day, you can see who's talking on the news. Who is talking on the news about education? Politicians. CNN. All the pundits.
Corporate leaders.
Corporate leaders.
Teach for America.
What's that?
Teach for America.
Teach for America. Right? Superintendents. Teachers. All of them are involved in the debate. But who isn't, right? Parents and students generally are not involved in the debate. So part of what we're trying to do is create a space by which we can allow that to happen. I want to work on the school improvement grant because, number one, as an organizer, for a lot of times, I've always complained about unfunded mandates. And people are always talking about, they want us to do these things, but there's no money attached. This is a situation where there's a whole lot of money attached, $4 billion worth. It's equal, if not a little bit under, what obviously California didn't get Race to the Top, but the same amount of money that Race to the Top was getting is doling out across the country. But no one was really talking about the school improvement grant. So I felt that that was real important. Number two, on top of it being an unfunded mandate, it was targeting the schools in the most high poverty, high minority areas. In other words, areas that I spent most of my adult life working in with communities to transform their schools. This is looking at the bottom 5% of schools across the country. What that basically means is they're looking at two things. They're looking at both test scores, people not being able to advance in math and reading, and also looking at graduation rates. So when I started thinking about all these different schools, the high dropout rates, with people that are 7% proficient in math, I was like, well, look, these are the schools that most people of color, most poor white folks are going to, and that require a level of change. Now, there's a lot of money that's being laser focused to these schools. But the third reason why I chose this project is actually the most important for me. And that's that if communities aren't engaged in this, and all this money gets thrown at these schools, which has been done before, and if we make promises to address these low minority, high poverty schools, and we don't have community engagement, then it's not going to be sustainable, and it's not going to be a long term. And now we're trying to rebuild. And so this has been, to tell you, the most important part of this work has been our ability to meet with folks that are doing really amazing things on the ground. And hopefully one thing I'd like to do later on is keep them communicating with each other so that you all here in the Bay Area can communicate with folks in Mobile, can communicate with folks in Columbus, because for far too long we're sort of living in our own neighborhoods and not really knowing what other folks are doing. Talk about best practice sharing amongst organizations, superintendents, businesses, private leaders, but we rarely create the time for us to have best practices amongst folks on the ground. And so hopefully we can create a little bit of space for that to happen. For everybody in the room, this is a community discussion. So it's not really tailored around the technicalities of the school improvement grant. This is really more about why communities should be involved and how they can be involved. And I think it's absolutely, it's very good news to hear that San Francisco Unified is in the room, so that we can have a conversation around how school districts can work. What are the best practices that school districts are doing to get communities engaged? Because it's a difficult process. It's no easy task. So, and we're here to help figure that out.
That's great, because the communities are very, very shy and reticent to talk to us.
I'm sure it is.
So they never really...
That's right.
Okay, so here's what happened at the meeting. We were informed that the federal government is going to hand out $4 billion to help the lowest performing 5% of the schools. Now, the schools will get $2 million a year for 3 years. In San Francisco, we have 12 schools that qualify to receive this money. But one of four things have to happen to them. They have to be reconstituted or restructured or blown apart and scattered to the four corners of the earth, or handed over to charter schools. But it's $2 million, so that's $24 million a year the school district can have. And we have a waiver that allows us an extra year to decide what to do. Now, let me tell you where those 12 schools are. As you can expect, they're in areas of greatest need. So, Willie Brown Elementary, Bryant Elementary, Cesar Chavez Elementary, Everett Middle School, George Washington Carver Elementary, Horace Mann, John Muir Elementary, Paul Revere Elementary. Then, John O'Connell, Mission High, Burton, Thurgood Marshall. Those are the schools that qualify, and the government wants parents to be involved and be involved with the process, although it's not required. Now, several weeks ago, I was talking to Joe Torgerson, who is Director Emeritus of the Florida Center for Reading Research. And Joe told me about a friend of his who was a principal who has reformed and brought back 2 schools. And the way his friend did it was first educate the teachers how to handle and work gently and positively with children. And secondly, in each of the schools, they put 7 reading resource teachers. Now, that's what worked there. Well, maybe it can work here. So parents have to put their 2 cents in and get involved with the whole process. Maybe it's time to try IEP for all. Maybe we need to switch from our current system, which is time is the constant and learning is the variable, and switch over to a system where learning is the constant and time is the variable, because all children learn at their own pace, and we should try teaching them. We have 12 schools here that really need help, and let's face it, nothing has worked to date. Now, there was one discord that I heard in all of this kumbaya there in working together, and somebody in the back of the room said, "We know each other and we work well together." Well, hey folks, that's shutting the door on everybody else. And so far, the ideas that you guys have come up with haven't worked. Time to give us a chance. Let us get involved. We, the parents, know what's best for our children. We are the number one factor in success in learning. So let's get the parents involved. Parents, let's speak up. And I'm Stan Goldberg, and that's my opinion.